Welcome, everyone, to the Last Gas Fantasy Sports Podcast. We coming to you live from the Gibson Truck World studio here at Celebration Point at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors, located in Gainesville, Florida. My name is TJ White, my co-host Brad Carmen. What's going on, Brad?
Hey, having a great day watching these people come in to Spurrier's, about to have brunch here.
Oh, man, it's a beautiful day. I mean, the weather couldn't get any better. It dropped down a little bit after the rainy afternoon, and it turned into be it's like 55 outside and gorgeous, man.
And the Gators won.
I mean, hey, that broke that streak. They're won. I mean, 70-52 is a phenomenal start to this weekend. Now we get to talk into some fantasy sports here and getting going on this. Man, I can't wait. So we're glad to have everybody here. We want to say a special thanks to our sponsors, Archer Electric Services Company, Paisano Stone-Fired Pizza, Door-to-Door Transport, Gibson Truck World, and also Viking Companies for their continued support of the show. Please reach out to us. We do have a couple spots available for some sponsoring. This has been a huge success, Brad. We're getting crazy numbers, and it's all thanks to you guys for listening and following on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. All the above, man.
Yeah, keep on watching, keep on sending your questions. We love the interaction with everybody. Just go on Facebook, put a comment in. We'll see it and answer your questions throughout the show.
Yep, and as we just mentioned, you can follow us at any of the major platforms. You can also follow us on www.lastgasfantasy.com. That's our website. You can also send your email questions during the week, lastgasfantasy@gmail.com. We get those every week. We answer them. We talk about them on the show. Some of that stuff we brought in, and we bring it into the stuff we're already talking about. So, find us on there. Come and follow it out, and it's been great. We also just want to talk about Thursday, too. We had a great event out there Thursday. We sponsor the Paisanos Knockout Round of the Night. It was won by Leotis McKelvin, and it's just great to have a local guy like that from out of town here, comes in, plays, and it's just a really cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's a former Buffalo Bills defensive back, so it tied right into the fantasy football and everything. Yeah. It was pretty awesome.
I mean, he was stoked. He got the $25 gift card to Paisanos. Thank you for them for sponsoring that and sponsoring our show. He couldn't have been more happy. Said he loves it, goes there all the time, and so congratulations to him for winning. You can come check us out on Thursdays out there as well. We play out there. We have a good time. We do the sponsor, and hopefully you get a chance to win. So come on and do that. Brad, I think we're going to go straight into start doing recap and see where we're going, man.
Yeah, Sunday was the first day in nearly a decade when four teams, the Bills, the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Packers, all in first place, lost to opponents with less than 500 records.
That's brutal right there.
Yes.
You got all four of those teams are serious playoff contenders, and for them to struggle like they did is that's NFL for you.
Yes. Hey, Justin Herbert gets back on target, 356 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's had a couple of bad games, but he really played well this week.
Yeah, and we talked about it a little bit with Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts last week or the week before on the production that they're doing. And they're, as a fantasy owner, even though the Eagles aren't really in the playoff contention, Jalen Hurts is quietly having a top 5 year as a quarterback for fantasy points.
Yes,
it's been unreal. And I mean, I would have never seen it coming. I know that he has potential to be a good player, and he played well, be going between Bama and then Oklahoma and then moving on around. But to see him have that connection with Devontae Smith as a young age, and they're really, giving a lot of Eagles fans something to hope for here moving forward. And like you said, Herbert stays on track. He gets 356 yards passing and 3 TDs. That's, carried me to my fantasy win last night.
Yeah, if you had Justin Herbert, you probably did well. Now all 4 AFC West teams are above 500 and all have 5 wins.
And that's to think about that. That's the Chiefs, Broncos.
Yep.
You've got the Chargers and Raiders in that group, and they're all above 500. That division is wide open. I mean, you're halfway through the season, and you don't have a clear-cut winner there.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just like the one with the Steelers and Baltimore and that one. The AFC, what is that? The East, and they are just as crazy and wide open as that one is.
Yeah, New England won 4 now after starting the season 1-3. So New England's getting back on track and looking pretty good.
Yeah, and that's the thing about New England. They're quietly staying in the hunt for a wild card in the AFC. And if the Bills keep choking away bad games, they're going to be right in the hunt for that division, let alone the AFC. They have a potential to win that division if they keep playing well. And I'm sure no fan wants to hear that. But still, if you're a New England fan and they have a diehard following, they're loving this. You have a rookie quarterback in there, going in there and doing that. That's unbelievable.
And, after Sam Darnold goes and throws 3 interceptions this last week, It looks like they're going to make some changes in Carolina now, bringing in Cam Newton.
Well, and that's the thing is so the Panthers lose 24-6 They lose that game. Darnold hurts his shoulder. He's out. Now there's not a reason for them not to be aggressive. I thought it was interesting that they went out and signed Cam to I think it was in the $4 million range, yes, but with incentives, and if they do well, he can make up potentially to 10.
10 million, yep.
As many times as he gets a bad reputation and gets some, I'm not a fan of him. I've talked about him in my past and history with what he did here at Florida, Cam Newton. He's still better than a lot of second-tier quarterbacks. And so you can't take that away from the guy playing on the field. And so for them to take a chance, he doesn't have to really learn a lot in the system there. He knows what he's expected to do. He knows what he's coming in to do there. He's been there before. He was, and so I think it's a smart pickup by the Panthers, and to try to stay. That division's not, they're not really going to be in the division and things like that. But especially with New Orleans and Tampa running away with it, but it's still they still want to have a good year. They still want to battle for a win. So, I think it's a great signing. I think we'll see how he does, and hopefully we'll see what happens.
Then you got Odell Beckham leaving Cleveland. And then it's the next guy steps up. We've talked about this guy a few times, but Donovan Peoples-Jones has a 60-yard touchdown catch as against the Bengals.
Yeah, and Cleveland smoked the Bengals.
Yes.
And it wasn't, it was 41, I think 41-13, 41-17, something, whatever it was.
What's up with the Bengals? They either have a great game or they don't have a game.
They are Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde if I've ever seen one. And that makes that division even more up in the air with those two teams doing that. Then you've got the loss from Thursday night with Baltimore. We'll probably touch base on that a little bit later in the show. But that division is wide open, and you've got the Steelers who aren't being prolific scorers or anything like that.
But they're staying right in it.
And they're staying right in it. So when you see that, you have to go, wow. And like you said, Odell Beckham loses. They've got a bunch of controversy off the field. He leaves. And all Baker Mayfield and that team does is go out there and Myles Garrett and just put it on probably one of the better teams in the league and in that division. So you have to tip your hat to Cleveland Browns fans and all them and all the stuff they go through, and they're battling week in to week out, and they're still in the hunt, no doubt.
And what a week for a running back at Arizona, James Conner.
Yep,
173 yards and a personal best of 3 touchdowns in that game.
No, he. I'm going to talk about him a little bit more. I'm not going to touch base, but he really did a great job with Arizona there, with some things that were missing and the pieces that were missing. And so, you can't do anything but just tip your hat to them to keep winning. And now they're at 7-1 or 8-1 now, 8-1, whatever it is. They're still doing well, and Arizona is looking really good in that division.
Yeah. And then how many people do you think really went to the Dolphins-Texans game?
Oh, I heard it was sold out.
Was it?
I heard it was a packed stadium down there. It was an absolute madhouse. It was more than the Miami games. No, I'm just joking, folks. There was nobody in the stands there. You probably could have, sent a flyer around and got it signed by everybody. But no, it was, as a Dolphins fan, I know we have quite a few Dolphins fans that do listen, Brad, and they've had a lot of turmoil. And it's hard to still want to support teams that don't want to play on the field. And that's what it looked like against the Jacksonville game. Yeah. And you've got, Tua's out. You got Brissett playing that game. Tua hurt his finger. He broke his finger that week. And so for them to come in and give the next man up, I think you said it best, the next man up here,
yeah,
and to beat the Texans regardless.
But it really, who beat the Texans was Tua, because Tua came in the second half, played the second half, because Jacoby got hurt.
I thought that's the Baltimore game Thursday, right?
Oh, that was Thursday. That was,
so that's so they kind of mix and match there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Brissett carries them, and that's even another thing is that
right,
you go from losing to Jacksonville,
right,
in London, to winning against the Texans at home, and then you had played the Baltimore on Thursday night,
right,
and nobody expected Baltimore to lay the egg Thursday night. And then the Miami Dolphins come in, Tua comes in, he's got a fractured finger. He's only listed because that's their backup quarterback. He blows out a knee. I don't know if he blew out a knee, but Brissett hurts his knee. Tua comes in there. They even do a quarterback sneak in the fourth quarter. So, as you got to credit Miami for not giving up, for not wanting to lay over. And I think that starts at the top of that organization with the coach there and really pushing down for all those players to really be able to just say, hey, regardless of where we're at right now, we can still make this. Yeah. We can still make this work. And so it's good to see that.
And you got these guys called the Jacksonville Jaguars. We did the over and under at the beginning of the season. I think we both did 2, and they're both going to beat the Houston Texans. Well, they just beat the Buffalo Bills.
I can't. My mind's blown right now. And if you're a fan of Jacksonville, this was your Super Bowl already. Like you've already won your season. You're excited. You're done. You're happy. You're like, man, this is great. Like how much more could you ask for right now? This is all you're doing. You're talking about it and you're going, we just beat the Buffalo Bills, who are considered Super Bowl favorites. I just saw a stat posted on the thing is that Josh Allen is the second in the MVP race, and they're the second to win the Super Bowl, right behind Tampa Bay and Tom Brady.
Right.
And so for them to see this right now and to be able to do that is unreal with that. And so it's cool.
And neither team scored a touchdown. I mean,
if you lost your fantasy week last week, it's because of Josh Allen, right, Brad?
Yes, and I did.
Not to make a wound worse, but yeah, no, you lost it. It's hard. I had the kicker, so I still did well, and I had their defense, so I didn't really lose that many points with that. So, Bill's got to get back on track.
And we were talking about the Ravens a minute ago. At this point, they lost Thursday night, but before that, the Ravens had won the 12 in a row in their conference.
Wow, that's
still the case because they played Miami this week. But
yeah, but no, that is wild, and so that those divisions are tightening up. The AFC really had some strong teams that were kind of running away with the divisions, but with those two teams kind of losing, they're letting people back in when nobody expected them to let them back in during that time. It's letting teams like the Chiefs and the Broncos and the things like that weren't really in it early are now all seriously playoff contenders.
And we've talked about Mike White a little bit on the show, and he ended up getting hurt in the game and coming out, and then but he's about starting this week against Buffalo. So this should be an interesting play.
No, he's a potential. Now, everybody that listens to the show listens to me and knows that I like to be. You have to show me. I'm a show me state kind of guy, and you got to show me what he's doing. And so he showed me his first game, but when he got hurt and went out, I really needed him to come back. I mean, I want to see that he's healthy. I want to see that his concussion's gone. I want to see that he's able to do it. And there's potential that he could. I'm not sold yet, and I hope he does do it. I mean, he's a local guy. I want all the best for him, but I need a little more on the field is what I need.
As long as Josh Allen in Buffalo comes back and plays like Buffalo should be playing, this could be a very interesting game. It could be a tricky play if someone would put Mike White in.
Yep.
And if they are trailing in the second half, he could get a lot of points on a fantasy league.
I mean, I think you're nailing it. The funny part that you say that, though, is that when he won his first game, he started from drive one and just dominated. And when he was playing that Thursday night game that he got hurt, drive one, 95 yards TD, with Buffalo's defense, you would think that he's not going to be able to do that, which is opposite of what he has done his first two games, is that he's going to come back and do it in the second half, third half, like second half of this game. And so I'm interested to see how that turns out, how that plays out, and how that turns moving forward for the Jets and Mike White.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's a shootout. I'm hoping they both score a lot of points.
Yeah.
Because I've got Josh Allen, so I need that side of it.
Yeah, no, it is a big thing. We want to say a special thanks to Archer Electric Services Company for their continued support for this show. They bring you over 30 years of leadership, both experience in commercial and residential electrical service needs in Gainesville and surrounding communities. Also, Paisano Stone-Fired Pizza. Whether you're looking for a quick lunch or a dinner destination to meet up with friends and family, Paisano's is your place. Celebrate life's most memorable moments with the delicious dishes, whether in your dining room and in yours. Also, thanks to Gibson Truck World for their support of the studio and sponsoring the studio, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill Advisors, Weeby Marketing, and Viking Companies for their continued support. Also, make sure you go on to Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, send your questions in. We'll read them live on air. We'll get those going. So we'll give you a couple more minutes to keep shooting those in. Then we'll start touching base on that. Brad, and we'll get back to the surprises of the week, man.
Yeah, my surprise of the week this week was Tennessee. After losing Derrick Henry, they did what they had to do. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't a lot of yards, but they did what they had to do to win.
Yeah, and that's the thing is there's no way that I picked against them. I picked against them because I didn't think that they were going to be able to really pick up their bootstraps and go. You lose arguably one of the best back in the last decade. I mean, his last 40 games, he set a record. He beat Walton Payton's rushing record. So it's hard to lose a player of that caliber and the workload that he put on his back. It's just, I didn't think they would. And like you said, that defense stepped up. They played well, and they really got the job done for them. And so they earned all of that win at 28-16 over the Rams. And, Rams are a good team. And
Yes.
so, and that's an impressive win.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson got a touchdown.
Yeah, and you called that. You did. I said he was going to suck, and you called that he was going to get a touchdown. So if you put in AP, congratulations. He got you some points, and it was a smart play by you. And then I did not think that he would be doing that, but he is. He's a freak.
Yeah.
He's one of the most fit, athletic, comes out of nowhere, goes through injuries and picks up guy that I've ever seen in my life and even watched on things, and he'll go down as a legend in most people's mind.
Yeah, I've got him starting this week too. They're telling you to sit him actually this week, but
really?
I'm going to play him. I'm going to take my chances. I think he's going to get another touchdown. He's great around the end zone. So,
I mean, that's the thing is that they're going to hand the ball off. Yeah. So he's going to get touches. If they're within the 10-yard line, he's going to have an opportunity to score. And so you have to think like that, and you have to be able to go, man, he's going to have an opportunity. Whether he converts on it, that's the question you're playing. I had two surprises of the week, and the first one was Dallas losing at home, getting Dak back. We talked about it the week before with Cooper Rush playing. They stole a win. And I was like, they're willing to, they can just give one away. Who cares? They'll be playing some teams that they can beat coming up. Now that game mattered even more last week that they stole that win. And so after losing this week to Denver and giving a game up, and Denver looking pretty good, Bridgewater went 19 for 28 for 249 in a TD. They had Williams rush for 111 yards. You had Patrick have 85 yards in a TD. That to me was more surprising, and especially being at home in Dallas, Brad.
Yeah, you saw I didn't bring it up earlier, right?
Well, I know I saw you skipped right over that. You knew I was going to bring it up. I always when you guys always throw Tampa in my face, I got to bring up this Dallas one here in a while.
I think they're going to recover. I think Dak's going to have a good game today. I don't think this is really going to hurt them because they're still leading in their division. They got a little bit of room. Dallas is going to be a good team.
Yeah, I think you have these games, and it's nice sometimes because I think it resets your focus.
Yeah.
You have to lose one of these to kind of bring you back to earth and say, hey, we're not a team that can just walk up and show out in this field and think we're going to win. Just like last week, and the Gators, we walking on the field and thinking they're going to win and get smoked by 30. So you've got to reset and reevaluate and reset your priorities on the field. The second game that I had that was a surprise for me this week were the Buffalo Bills laying an egg in Jacksonville. We kind of mentioned it, we kind of talked about it, but Jacksonville goes to Seattle the week before after a bye week and just looks bad.
Yes.
Gets beat across the field. They come to one of the AFC leaders at home, and they were in Josh Allen's face. And it was great seeing Josh Allen sack Josh Allen. And he, the big joke this week was that he was taking his namesake back and his shirt, and he was doing all this and that. But it wasn't that the Bills gave it to Jacksonville. Jacksonville earned that game. And that's a surprise to me. I know that team can easily let this season go, but now they've got 2 wins. There's something to build on that and build on that program, and you've got to be happy about that as a Jacksonville fan.
Yeah, you're watching that game. Josh Allen, the quarterback, really suffered. He didn't play very well at all. But Josh Allen, the defensive back, played awesome. He had a sack. He had an interception. He had a fumble recovery.
Well, and as I was reading and looking into it, watching the game, it was that cover 2 or those deep corners, deep safeties that are on the backside that were giving Patrick Mahomes fit. The same defense is giving Josh Allen fits.
Yes.
And so there might be something there that these new defensive coordinators and schemes are starting to figure out how to limit that ability to find those gaps and holes and those seams for those quarterbacks like that.
Yeah, the Jacksonville defense was swarming all over the field.
Yeah.
They played great.
Yeah, and it's good to see that. So, unreal for them to get the second win. It was a big surprise for me, and that game right there could determine who has home field advantage in the number 1 seed in the AFC. And that's scary to think that it's Jacksonville's fault.
Yeah, for Buffalo not there.
So, who were your top performer of the week, Brad?
My top performer of the week was Jonathan Taylor, 172 yards just on 19 carries.
Wow.
And he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is something to not forget about. Even though I think that was the Thursday night. Was that the Thursday night game? It was the Colts. Yeah, it was Colts. It was the Colts Thursday night game. Primetime TV. Everybody's been expecting Taylor to eventually break out. When he was coming from it was Wisconsin, right?
Yep.
I think that was his college. He came from Wisconsin. He kind of slowly got into it the last couple of years, but he's emerged as a top 5 running back this year, and he is absolutely everything they paid for and more right now.
Well, he's second on the most yards in the league right now. And Derrick Henry's still first. And Derrick Henry's going to get passed by Jonathan Taylor because Derrick Henry's not going to play.
Yeah.
So, he could win the rushing title this year.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, Indy plays indoors. They have an indoor stadium. He's got Carson Wentz there, a serviceable quarterback who makes good decisions most of the time. He doesn't have to do everything on himself, but I mean, this is efficient. 19, like you're saying, 19 carries for 172 yards. That's as efficient as you can get.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unreal.
He also holds the longest 2 rushes in the NFL this year.
Really?
He has an 83-yarder and a 78-yard.
Wow. So, you've got to just say he's done it. He's earned his right now, and he's going to get a good contract when this is done. I mean, I think he's in his 3rd of his 4th year of his original rookie contract. So we'll see what happens and go from there. But you couldn't ask for a better day for a better guy like that. And the funny part is you went with a running back. I went with a running back as well. I went with James Conner out of Arizona. It was unreal. He had 21 carries, 96 yards, 2 TDs. He had 5 catches, 77 yards, and 1 TD. And when you have the guys like Kyler Murray and Hopkins out for the day, they're both out. Someone's got to pick up the slack. And they went into San Francisco and beat them.
Yes.
30, I think it was 31 and some to whatever the Niners were. I think it was 17. And for Connor to carry that offense is just, it was a surprise. I know he's a top 6 running back right now. And last week he had 35.3 fantasy points. So fantasy owners, you got to be loving this guy. So keep him in the game. He's probably carrying you to you're probably winning your league right now if you've got him in your league.
No, I agree. He looked good when he was at Pittsburgh. Now he's over here at Arizona, and he's even looking stronger.
Well, that's the thing, too, is that his name kind of fell off the radar a little bit whenever he got hurt at Pittsburgh. And that was the whole Le'Veon Bell, when Le'Veon Bell was leaving,
Right.
and this. And then, so Connor came in, and he did very well for a couple of years for me there. And then he disappeared, and now he's reemerging in a playoff contending, probably going to get a first-round bye in the playoffs. Arizona, that might even be the number 1 seed in NFC. So, congratulations, James, and just keep balling out, man. It's just unreal, dude, man. And who's your disappointments of the week, Brad? And this is going to be...
It's pretty easy. We've already discussed it. And it's not Dallas, but even though that is a disappointment for me, but it's the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
You don't go into Jacksonville and don't score a touchdown and only get 2 field goals. It was one of the worst performances it was the worst performance of the year.
Yep.
I hope they don't repeat it again.
Yeah, and so my biggest disappointments were 2 games that we haven't even really talked about. It's New York Giants beating the Las Vegas Raiders in Vegas.
It's a big win.
I mean, we were just talking about how good the Vegas has played coming out of losing their coaches and losing stars and doing this, and you have a team that's still licking their wounds in New York Giants after losing a ton of their players, and they won that game. And it was a biggest disappointment for me is Las Vegas. You need to handle your business with a team coming in, and they didn't do it. So, congratulations to the New York Giants and getting a win like that and doing that. You just can't. It's just a great thing for them. The second thing that I have there for my biggest disappointment was New Orleans losing to Atlanta. Yeah. And when we mentioned it last week with them losing Michael Thomas and Jameis Winston, how they would bounce back. And this almost was going to be my surprise of the week if New Orleans would have held on.
Right.
Atlanta gave up an 18-point lead in the 4th quarter against New Orleans. Luckily, he hits Cordell Patterson on a 64-yard run. Atlanta goes in, kicks at the 28-yard field goal at the end of the game, and they win. But, Atlanta's not a good team. And what it is New Orleans goes the week before to beat Tampa to put themselves in contention to win the division and then go and lay a goose egg against Atlanta. And, that's why it's a disappointment for me is that New Orleans had done everything they needed to have their own business and then regress the next week. And so it's hard. Trevor Siemian did not look bad out there. He played well, but those are my biggest appointments.
I mean, it was all over the league last week that the top teams were losing.
Yeah.
I mean, our pick'em's probably going to reflect that.
Well, that's the funny part on the pick'em side because I won my league and I picked terrible games this week. So we want to talk a couple things. Buys this week, Brad. Buys are the Bears, Texans, Giants. So make sure you know who you're starting. No Justin Fields. No Texans players. If you probably are starting any Texans players, which why would you be? So please don't start them. But Giants. Pay attention to the Giants because they are on a bye. So no Kadarius Toney. He's getting a little flack for some of the comments he's made off air. No Danny Dimes, but he's been a great player this week for Danny Dimes, and so that's just pay attention to those. Also, with players getting hurt and bye weeks, it's a ton of waiver wire pickups. It's a ton of people coming back. We'll touch base on the waiver wire pickups. We'll touch base on the injuries in the second half of the show. But, Brad, I got a question for you. And this is something that happens in my league not very often. How many trades are done in your league a year for fantasy owners? I mean, so I want to get into the question about trades inside your fantasy league.
And we probably end up having about 5 trades that go through a year.
Right. And so the question to me is, how does your teams and leagues vote on those, or do they just happen and then they're allowed, or can you veto trades?
You can veto the trades.
Right.
It sends it out. Everybody has a chance to look at it. If you want to veto it, you push veto on it. If you don't, then it goes through.
Okay. Now, how does your league handle family members trading between teams? Is it promoted? Is it frowned upon? Is it against the rules? Because we all know that if you're listening to the show, Jim's brother and Bob's brother know each other, and they're one's 1-9 and the other one's 9-1. Does it happen where he's trading his best players to that team, or is it most of the time a pretty fair trade and guys are trying to make their teams better or worse?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything in our league of anything looking suspicious.
Right.
Like I said, the few trades you have the option of vetoing it. So if the other 8 guys, I'm sorry, we're in a 12-team league. The other 10 guys see that, they're gonna veto it. But we haven't had that issue. All the trades have been pretty consistent, pretty fair this year.
And I think that's one of the things that I want to point out is that you bring up a good point there, fair and consistent trades. I just saw a trade come through on one of my leagues where it was a husband and a wife, and they're playing each other. They're literally playing each other this week, and they traded tight ends and wide receivers. That one was dropping, I think one was picking it up. But to me, if you're looking at the number ranking that's what I go to on a trade. What is the overall number ranking? So let's say a wide receiver is 24th in the league and the tight end was 17, and that equals 41. And you're going and you calculate the trade value of the other one, and that equals close to a 41. There's no reason for some to be vetoed, and you're talking about fair and equitable, regardless of who the players are or what they're doing it or why they're doing it. If they're in the same 5 to 10 ballpark there, that makes sense. Now, if you have someone giving up, a number 1 running back and a number 2 wide receiver, and they're getting a number 80 and a number 90, that's when you should veto. That's when you should be paying attention to that, fantasy owners. If the trade seems fair and even, then let's make sense on it.
I always go back and look at the fantasy points. How many fantasy points was this guy getting versus what you're giving up or getting in the trade?
Yeah.
And if it's equal for the year, and they both have played the full year, then I'm like, okay, it's a pretty fair trade.
Yeah, and so those are the things, and it's, when you think about how you draft and pick up players too, you sometimes draft multiple good players of a position, quarterback, kicker, defense, things like that, knowing that it could be trade bait later in the year. If you're going to have the number 1 and 2 defenses in the league, why not trade one of them away? Once that bye week's done, you've already got your value out of them. Send them away, get something in return.
Yeah, I do that with quarterbacks. I try to hold a couple extra quarterbacks on the bench until after their buys, because you got to use them during their buys, and then use them as trades.
Yeah, and so that was kind of the thing that brought that up. We like talking about those kinds of questions, talking about those kinds of things that fantasy owners have to deal with week in and week out, and go from there. We did get a Facebook Live question, so keep those coming in. If here's the question, Brad. You had Jalen Waddle Thursday night, and you have Donovan Peoples-Jones playing this week. Who would you have started and why?
Mine was going to be Waddle.
Yep.
Waddle's been a very consistent wide receiver for Miami this year. Even though that Jacoby Brissett was starting quarterback, I still had confidence in Waddle playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's some of the things. Make sure you send us those questions. Make sure you ask us who you think you need to be playing. I mean, there's tons of question marks right now. Who should be starting here? With some people starting there, do you pick up the backup for the Steelers right now? I mean, do you play the guy who's going to be starting for Arizona because Kyler Murray's out? I mean, if you've got those questions and you want to try to win, send them on in. Follow us on Facebook Live or YouTube, Twitter. Send in the questions. We're here to listen. We're going to go to a break here in a couple seconds, and we really appreciate you guys listening and hope you come back, and we'll talk to you then.
Gibson Truck World's expert team of sales and service staff will show you why we have been the pioneer of used trucks since 1995. With our 1-year bumper-to-bumper warranty valid across the entire United States, our exclusive 15-day exchange policy, and our $1,000 best price guarantee, it's easy to see why we're the #1 used truck dealership in all of Florida. Please call, visit, or explore our website today to see for yourself why we are the king of trucks.
more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Le Macaron, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Hi, Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, a number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Last Gas Fantasy Sports Podcast, coming to you live from the Gibson Truck World studio here at Celebration Point at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors, located in Gainesville, Florida. You know, we want to say a special thanks to our sponsors, Archer Electric Services Company, Paisano Stonefire Pizza, Weeby Marketing, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors, Gibson Truck World, and Viking Companies for their continued support of our show and sponsoring us throughout the thing, Brad. And man, this place is filling up fast, man. It's unreal.
It's hopping. These people are enjoying this brunch here. If you haven't tried it, get down here to Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Try their brunch out on Sunday mornings. They open up at 11 a.m. It's really nice in here.
I mean, this place is packed. It opened at 11. You know, they've got the Gator versus Knowles basketball came at 1 o'clock today, so they're coming in here early, grabbing some food before they head over there. You know, it's an absolutely great atmosphere for doing our NFL fantasy football podcast and talking about this. And so we want to say thanks. Also, thanks for people for sending in your questions. We just got one on there, Brad. Is AP worth a start versus New Orleans, or Gibson versus Tampa Bay the better option?
And my option is AP over in New Orleans. I'm actually suggesting people sit Gibson this week in Tampa. Tampa's defense is very strong, and my option here, I'd go AP.
No, and I want to agree with you on that. You know, Tampa's coming off of a bye week. They reset their batteries. This is the perfect bye week for them. They're going to get some guys healthy that have been banged up a little bit. And New Orleans licking their wounds, you know, after losing last week to Atlanta. I think AP is the option right there. And it's hard to sit Gibson against AP, but, you know, I think that's the right play.
Yeah, that Tampa defense is strong. I mean, it's going to stop the run. Washington's going to have to go in the air to win this game. And, you know, Gibson is a good receiver out of the backfield, but I still would play Adrian Peterson. Yeah,
no doubt. Also, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're live every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Send in your comments, questions. We open them up here. We talk about it. We see who you're going to want to do, and we just really appreciate every support that you guys are giving us and to our sponsors. And, Brad, I think, you know, it's time to go into the injury report, man.
Yeah, everyone has heard about Kyler Murray getting injured, so it looks like he's going to be out this week.
And he was out last week. He's out this week. Make sure you're paying attention. They were able to get the win last week without him. I see them getting a win this week without him.
Yep. Aaron Rodgers, everybody knows about the COVID issue, but it does look like he will be back in the lineup playing, so he should be a start for you.
You know, and that's something I wanted to touch real quick on, Brad, while we bring up Aaron Rodgers, is, you know, I think Green Bay thought that they could just plug and place with Jordan Love, and that was not the case last week. You know, 14-6, I think the final score was that Kansas City game. And this proves how valuable he really is to that team and his leadership qualities, regardless of what the outside noise is. In that locker room, he's the leader.
Yeah. I predicted Jordan Love coming in and having a good game.
Yeah.
I was wrong. Jordan Love did not play well. It does show you how valuable Aaron Rodgers is to them. And it kind of validates my point. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going anywhere either.
Well, and that's the thing. I played against Jordan Love, and I was nervous as a long-tailed cat in a rocking chair contest. You know what I'm saying? And so I was waiting for him to just blow up, and of course I'd lose. I ended up winning my league that day, you know, 80-78. Not a big week for both of us. I'm not going to be bragging about how stellar my team was, but you know, you think about that, and let me say, Aaron Rodgers is a must start if you're having this week. If he's in, he's playing, he's going to go off.
Yes. DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver Arizona, is still out.
Yep. And he's on my team. He's been giving me fits because he's been doing well, and then he's out the last 2 weeks. So now I'm trying to recover and find a place for him. I thought he'd come back for the hamstring injury. He's not. And so make sure you pay attention, find a replacement for him, and get somebody in there when he's out.
And a little bit of a surprise, Nick Chubb, coming back off injury last week, played well. He's out with COVID this week.
Yep. Him and Demetric Fulton.
Yeah. Dearness Johnson becomes a big play there.
Yeah, so if the people who picked him up and didn't drop him gets Dearness Johnson back, he is healthy. He will be playing in Cleveland. So pay attention there. Don't start Nick Chubb, and make sure you got Dearness Johnson if you have him.
James Robinson for Jacksonville Jaguars. It looks like he's going to be back this week playing.
Yep, and so James Robinson's been done very well for Jacksonville. They didn't need him last week because they didn't need to score a touchdown, so
Right.
they just wanted to kick a bunch of field goals. You know, it's still wild that they didn't kick field goals until the sixth week of the season or fifth week of the season to get their first, and then they beat the Bills on 3. So that's what the NFL is, and you never know what the heck's going to happen.
Damian Harris hurt himself in the fourth quarter last week. It looks like he's going to be out again this week.
And you got and you got Ramondre Stevenson will be forced into the game. We'll see what happens with there. They've got Bolden there. They've got a few other guys there. You just never really know who's going to start for them, and so just don't start Damian Harris as he's out.
Yep. Chris Carson was looking like he was going to come back, but they aren't going to hold him out again this week, and so Chris Carson is out.
Nice. And so that's the thing. Seattle's having problems all year with their running game, so pay attention and just move on from him.
David Montgomery looks like he's back after missing a month.
Wow, that'd be a nice pickup for the
Yes.
Bears. Well, they're on a bye week this week, right?
Yeah.
So it is nice. He's going to get an extra week off. But he is back. He is healthy. So now he's going to have 5 weeks to heal up. But don't play him this week on the bye. But he is getting back in the game, and he will be good.
Allen Robinson tweaked his hamstring in the late on the Monday's game against Pittsburgh. It's a probable, so keep an eye on that one.
Yep. So Allen Robinson hasn't done much this year, though. So, you know, as other injuries are piling up on your teams and other players are getting out, he was a nice pickup later on the rounds. But make sure you see what he's doing, see if his status is okay, and he's still kind of questionable there.
Corey Davis with the Jets looks like he's going to be okay.
Okay. So Corey Davis will start, play him if he is available. It'll be interesting to see how he does against that secondary in the Bills.
Latavius Murray traveled with the team, so he's looks like a game time decision.
And that's Baltimore there. They played Thursday night.
Oh, that's right.
And he did not get many carries. I don't think he played at all. Devontae Freeman played for them. Le'Veon Bell got 0.1. And so, you know, he was not there. They did not even score a touchdown through the ground. They got a late garbage touchdown to the tight end Andrews, which I was playing against. And so, you know, I start Andrews the week before in my other league. He goes out and doesn't do anything. And then this week he picks up the garbage TD. So that's fantasy. If you don't love it, you really can't enjoy it. So I enjoy every time that it happens to me.
And we talked about Sam Darnold earlier. He's out.
Yep. Sam Darnold's out. It was funny. You got Tua Tagovailoa mentioned in here. You know, he was out on Thursday. He wasn't supposed to start. Comes back in, carries that team to a win, and you know he's really earned a lot of respect in the league. And even if you didn't like him at Bama and you didn't think he was going to do anything, he's been shown a lot of grit out there. And as a young leader for that team, it's really good to see.
Yeah, and we talked about Mike White playing this week, so Zach Wilson is out as quarterback of the Jets.
Nice. And so, you know, Zach Wilson will be out. Mike White will start. Hopefully he stays healthy and hopefully has a monster game.
And Telvin Coleman with the Jets is expected to suit up. So that's our injury report pretty much.
Yeah, and there's your injury report. We've got a waiver wire ads talking about that, Brad. And, you know, one of the biggest guys that I was going to ask you about and picked up, but I see that I have availability for Brandon Ayuk. I picked up Donovan Peoples-Jones. Would you start Donovan Peoples-Jones or Brandon Ayuk from San Francisco?
Excuse me. I would have to go with Joe. Ayuk. Even though I like Peoples-Jones, he did have a great game last week.
Yep.
He had that big catch and stuff. But I'm going with Ayuk.
Yeah, and so that's the question. Is like that's one of the things we like to talk about in the waiver wire section, Brad. Is not only who you can get, but you need to pay attention of who other people have dropped.
Right.
And so that's one of the kind of the secrets and trades of fantasy football owners is that I'm going to have to drop a guy that I probably wouldn't want to drop because my guys are hurt or on bye, and I need to have a player to fill in. So I normally wouldn't want to drop like a Chuba Hubbard who I'm going to have to drop because I think McCaffrey's going to still be hurt when they come back and he's not going to be that good. But I have to have a position and I have to fill the roster. So pay attention to who's on the waiver wire, who you can claim midweek, because when they drop on Tuesday and Wednesday, you can claim them, and then you can get them Thursday or Friday before your game. So pay attention to those things.
You know, and another one is Dearness Johnson. A lot of people dropped Dearness Johnson because of last week, Nick Chubb being back, and Dearness only had like 8 carries, 16 yards or something like that. So a lot of people dropped him, and now he's starting again. He's going to be a really healthy start.
Yeah. One thing on the waiver wire and the injury report is Ben Roethlisberger is out on the COVID protocol. He got hit with COVID. His back off is Mason Rudolph. I don't suggest picking him up and playing him. I don't think they score a lot as it is, and so don't start Ben Roethlisberger. I've already had to make changes because I had Joe Burrow who's on a bye, and then I picked up Roethlisberger to start. Of course, he gets COVID, so I have to drop him. Now I'm having to pick up a third quarterback. I'm going, if I win this week, it's a miracle, Brad. I promise you that. Another name that we said pick up, Kenyon Drake, Las Vegas.
Yes. Drake is supposed to be a surprise this week, so he's been coming on. Last week he played pretty well. It looks like he could be a nice sleeper pickup.
No, you're right. And you brought him up to me to begin with, and so I looked at him over the week and said, man, what's Brad talking about? And he has really done well out of the backfield. He's a nice little target. He's quick. He's shifty, and he runs hard.
Yes.
And so if you have an opportunity to pick him up, grab him, add him to your team, and see what he does. I would start him if I could get him. And I think he was on our waiver wire. He was dropped. I can't claim him until Monday, so I'm not going to start him. But if you have an opportunity to do it, J.D. McKissick is another one you mentioned out of Washington. The question that we had come in was about Gibson. What's your take on J.D. McKissick?
McKissick's another one that's been pretty solid lately, and I think he's going to have a good game today as well.
Yeah, and so they're going to be playing. There's going to be a good game. That defense in Tampa is pretty tough, but I think he has a good day. So it'll be interesting to see what happens between those two. And it also plays into the Gibson where he's pulling away snaps from Gibson. I mean from Gibson, McKissick is going to take those.
Right.
And that kind of is a detriment there versus AP being the lead back for the most part in the Titans. And then the last one we had was Ricky Seals-Jones. That was part of the trade that happened in my league. They traded this guy over there, seeing what was happening, and we'll see whether or not that pays off for both sides. Some of the other waiver wire names during that time, you had Rashad Bateman, Brandon McMinnis, Tyler Conklin from Minnesota was a tight end for them. I had him. He got me a few catches. He hasn't really produced major numbers, but it's better than a zero.
Exactly.
I won my league. I won my week by 2 points. He got me 4. So
you needed every one of them.
I needed every point he can get me for whatever he could get me. So think about that. Also, the Denver Broncos defense has been a big pickup this week. They're becoming a top 8-9 defense. Big interceptions, big points there. So if you're starting, one of the things I like to do as an owner, Brad, and I was going to get your take on this, is do you go back and review where your position players, meaning kickers, special teams, defenses, things like that, follow in the ranks of available teams on your waiver wire?
Not a whole lot, to be honest with you, on the kickers and the defenses.
Yeah, see, that's one of the things that I try to teach and try to tell people is that, they get stuck with just going, hey, I like the Bills defense. Well,
Right.
Yeah, they're the number 2 defense. You can like them. But other people picked, the Steelers or Jacksonville or somebody like that who were ranked at the beginning of the year the top 10 defenses. But you go on there and you look by the numbers, they're not a top 10 defense. They're ranked 16, they're ranked 17, and people have already dropped their bye week game, which leaves you there could be a 5 or 6 defense in there, and they're playing a very bad team. So go in there, pay attention to those kickers, pay attention to the defenses, like the kicker for Atlanta, Koo. He was the number 1 ranked kicker last year. So this year, if you were to draft, he would have been up there right next to Tucker,
Right.
and anybody like that, Tyler Bass, those guys. He's number 17th in the league right now as a kicker.
Yeah.
So if you're still starting him over somebody who could potentially be getting you 3 or 4 or 5 more points, you got to look into that.
One of the top kickers in the league was Mason Crosby, but he's missed so many this year. I've had to sit him and go find a new kicker.
Yeah, and so you have to pay attention. Don't get stuck on just starting the same guys over and over and over again. You can go out there and look for better players.
Defenses, I usually look at who they're playing that week.
Yeah.
I switch out my defenses quite often based on the opponent.
Yeah, and that's a better way to. That's a great way. They're playing the Texans, or they're playing
Jaguars.
Detroit, or they're playing the Jaguars, or something like that. It's one of those things to do. We want to say thanks to Archer Electric Services Company. They're bringing you over 30 years of leadership and experience, both commercial and residential electric needs in Gainesville and surrounding communities. Paisano's Stone-Fired Pizza. And whether you're looking for a quick lunch or a dinner destination to meet up with friends and family, Paisano's is your place. Celebrate life's most memorable moments and delicious dishes, whether in our dining room or yours. Also, we want to say special thanks to Viking Companies and Gibson Truck World for their continued support of our program and show, and their continued. So reach out to them. They're all great. They're fantastic customer support. And if you just need somebody locally, give them a call, man, and they'll take care of you. Say you heard about us on the Fantasy Podcast or Last Gas, and do that. We're going to start wrapping up in the show here. We got about 15 minutes left, Brad. We're going to go into the pick'ems here. But continue sending your questions, continue sending your answers about an hour and 15 minutes before game time starts. So make sure you pay attention to that and see any of the last little bit of updates. If we have anything that come across the wire, we'll let you know. Brad, I did very well last week in my pick'ems. I ended up tying for first in my pick'em league with my stepfather, and Jeff ended up beating me in the total points that night. So congratulations to him for outpicking me because of the points. I thought it was going to be a low-scoring affair, and for some reason they both decided to score a lot of points and screwed me. But I still picked the most right, so I can't complain. I picked the Giants. I had picked Atlanta. I did not pick Miami, but so I was all over the board, and I ended up winning it. So I can't complain about that.
Congratulations. I didn't do very well at all last week.
So we go into these games as we start off. Baltimore at Miami. We know what happened there. Miami beat them 22 to something, and it was close going into the final quarter. And I thought Baltimore always was going to find a way to win that game, and they just never did.
So I'm starting out with one loss already.
Yeah, I'm guarantee you I've lost that one right there. Atlanta at Dallas, and I'm going to let you pick this one so you can maybe feel better about after last week.
Hey, Atlanta went in and won last week, so it's a 9.5 points for Dallas. I'm going to stay with Dallas.
I like Dallas as well. I think Dallas resets. They come back, handle the business. I think they need to hand it a little more off to Pollard and Zeke.
Yes.
And they need to get those guys going because that's what opens the vertical game for Amari and Lamb and all the other receivers on that potent offense, and let them really go and do that. It's going to be hard to cover Cordarrelle Patterson, but, I think they have a defense that can handle it, especially with the mobile linebackers they have.
And when Dallas was winning, that's what they were doing, is they were handing the ball off. They had that running game that was pounding them.
Yep. And so if they can get them back on track, I think it's good. We got New Orleans at Tennessee. Tennessee is -2.5. Who do you like there?
Hey, I'm going with Tennessee. They did it last week without Derrick Henry. AP should score again, so I'm going to stay with Tennessee.
I think you're right there. I think Tennessee wins that handily. I don't know why it's so close, but I think I think New Orleans has been a bounce back after a bad loss last week. You got Jacksonville at Indy, 10.5 point underdogs. And so I think we both agree that Indy wins this. I don't think they cover the spread, but I think it's a close game.
I agree with you. They're really predicting Carson Wentz to have a good game, I guess. But that Jacksonville defense looked really strong against Josh Allen. So
and they're stepping up, playing better. So, we like – but that's what happens. If I was a betting man, I'd probably take Indy in the points or just say they would cover. Because Jacksonville goes from beating Miami to win, and then they lose by 30 in Seattle, and then they come back and beat the Bills. The trend is that they're going to lose by 30. So, Indy with the points.
Yep.
Yeah, Cleveland at New England. New England is a 0.5 underdog, so half a point. How do you get to a half a point? That's another story.
With Chubb out too, so
Yep.
Dearness, Johnson's going to have a big game. I'm going to go Cleveland.
I like Cleveland in this game as well, Brad, but don't count out New England.
No,
not at all. It's a coin flip game. It's 1:00. It's early. It's going to be cold up there. I think Cleveland wins it, but I like New England's chances. You got Buffalo at the Jets. The Jets are getting 13.5 points, and this is a big divisional rivalry, big game internal there for the AFC East, and you've got Buffalo coming off that bad loss to Jacksonville. Do they recoup and recover?
They do recoup. They do recover. They do win. They do not cover.
Yeah, that's a lot. And here's the question is, does Mike White go play like Mike White's capable of, or does Buffalo and Josh Allen step up and play well?
I think you're going to see Mike White really play well.
Yep.
Like you said, he finished that game 2 weeks ago. He played very well. He started last week's game playing well before he got injured. I think he's going to start right where he left off.
Yeah. And so I believe Buffalo wins that as well.
Yep.
You got Detroit at Pittsburgh. Detroit is getting 9.5 points. I think Pittsburgh handles this one,
Yes.
even with the backup quarterback with Mason Rudolph in there. They don't score a lot of points. They play slow, methodical. They hand it off to Najee. I think Najee has a monster day today, and I think Pittsburgh beats Detroit.
I do need to look at that. I read something about Najee being hurt.
Oh,
but I think he is playing. But that's something I do want to look up while we're doing this.
Yeah, let's look into that. And see where he's at and see what's going on there. We got Tampa Bay at Washington. Tampa's coming off the bye week. Washington football team. We need to get a mascot for them. We're going to start calling them something. Tampa Bay is 10.5-point favorites. I think they handle this. I think they win this easy, and we go on about that. We've got Carolina at Arizona. Arizona is without Hopkins, without Murray. I just got a notification that he was out there. Who do you like, Brad? Carolina or Arizona to take care of business there?
Arizona's going to do it.
Yeah, I think Arizona takes care of them. Carolina's been struggling. We'll see if Cam gets the start out there. They're going to go with the backup quarterback there. Minnesota at L.A.
I'm going to go Minnesota.
Minnesota at L.A. Minnesota is a 2.5-point favorite. I like the Chargers. I think they need to win. I think this is a must-win for them in a division that they can be falling back quickly, and they do not want to keep falling back in that division. They got a good win last week, so if they can keep that pace up, Herbert needs to play well, and they still need to keep moving forward there.
Just a real quick on the Najee Harris. He is hurt.
Yep.
He has a foot strain that he got in practice this week. Benny Snell is his backup.
Yep.
So keep an eye out on that. They have not announced whether he is playing or not yet, but he is listed on the Wednesday injury report as a foot.
Yep, with a foot. He was a full go on practice Friday, so we'll see. One name that we didn't mention in the injury report, Brad, was the Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara was out again. His knee got hurt. That they just picked up Ingram off the waiver wire, off that group, and now he's playing. So make sure you pick that up. Don't start Alvin Kamara. He is hurt, and you will be able to get somebody else to pick up after that. So pay attention there. Brad, Las Vegas. And this game is interesting. The point spread is only 2.5. And Kansas City's coming off that, ugly win against Green Bay, 14-6. Kansas City's trying to figure themselves out. They're above 500. They're still battling in the division. And who do you like in this game?
I'm going to go Las Vegas. I think Derek Carr is going to get done. I don't think Patrick Mahomes has been found yet. I think he's still missing.
So he's still missing since Halloween? I love it. No, it's a smart pick to take the home team, but I think Kansas City routes Las Vegas this week. And I don't know why I say that, but I think one of the major factors is that they've got to take off sooner than later. And what better way to do it than right there in Las Vegas on the Sunday night game, primetime TV, and show them that they're not going to just walk away from being in the playoffs. So I think Kansas City beats them by 20, but I really think that they have to start getting in form just past the halfway mark here.
Yeah, I think again, I picked Vegas to win this. I think you're going to see a nice connection between Derek Carr and Kenyon Drake.
Yeah. The last game is the Monday night game, the L.A. Rams at San Francisco. We haven't talked about the L.A. Rams a lot, even though they've been in the news a ton. They went out, get Odell Beckham Jr. The same day, and they lose Robert Woods. Robert Woods is out for the season, IR. Make sure you mark that down on your calendars. Get him off your team. Who do you like in this game?
I'm going to go the Rams.
I think you have to go the Rams, even though it's in San Francisco. That's not, it's still California. The thing about it is the Rams lost last week, and they need to keep pace with Arizona. And if they plan on having any chance of winning that division or being in a wild card there, they need to win this game.
Yes.
And so I think they come out. I think they play well, and I think it's going to be a big, big game for them. So it'll be interesting. Also, one thing I want to point out, Cincinnati is also on a bye week. And so it was not just Chicago, the Giants, and Houston. Cincinnati's there too. I have the players already missing, but I want to make sure we tell you guys that. So thank you all for listening. It's been great and having a blast. A couple of things real quick. The stardoms, we've got Derek Carr, J.D. McKissick, and Kenyon Drake. We want to see make those guys play. We think they're going to have big weeks. We think they're going to have monster weeks. The sit-ems this week, Kirk Cousins, Tannehill, Mike Davis, Jordan Howard. And a questionable sit-em is AP, just because of the fact that, we'll see what happens, but that's here nor there. I think he's going to get big points, but I don't think he's going to get a ton of points. The sleeper pick from Brad this week And I agree with it. Is Marvin Jones Jr. from Jacksonville. I think he's going to have a big week. He's had a couple quiet weeks, and I think he comes out and he really takes care of business and does that. With a couple minutes to go on the show, we always like to talk about a positive and leave you guys thinking about positive things in life and talking about things that really matter to the community and not just football. One thing we're going to talk about is Chicago Bears this week and the auction that they're doing for the Crucial Catch practice jerseys. It's a campaign that's been started by the NFL, and it's where the Bears players wear patches and jerseys on their practice jerseys, which is about 66 overall jerseys. Then they put them up for auction. You can go on there. You can auction out those jerseys, get them, and then those monies go to proceeds to support the Real Bears Fans Wear Pink campaign, which began in 2008, which benefits Bears Care, which supports Chicago's local programs providing care and assistance to support breast cancer patients and their families. This initiative is also a way to support and honor breast cancer survivors and their lives. And I know that we've all been touched by this, man, and so it's a phenomenal program to help those local communities and things like that, Brad.
Great cause.
Brad, I think we got about a minute left on the show. Anything to follow up? Anything to go? What you're excited about? What you're not excited about?
I just want to say, again, and I know I keep on repeating this, but what a great environment this is out here at Spurrier's Gridline and Grill, with all these people here watching today and enjoying the show and be able to watch some sports on TV and having a nice brunch. It's just a wonderful environment here.
Yeah, I know, and you can't say it more about this studio and the production, our production team here that does it every day in and out for us, and the people that are listening and supporting us every day and following during the weeks and sending in questions and doing that, Brad. It's an honor to be able to do this week in and week out, and we just can't say it enough and say thank you enough for that. I'm excited, Brad. I'm excited to see Tampa Bay back in play. They were off last week. I was a little bored. I want to see him come out. I want to see him kick butt, and I want to see I don't want to see 70-52 like yesterday's game, but I'd like to see a pretty good whipping.
Hey, what an amazing game, though. I mean, we have to score 70 to beat Samford,
Yep.
which is the old Howard. I found out. I didn't know that until recently. And it was the most points the Gators have given up in the first half by any team.
Yeah. Well, Brad, it's wild. We've had a blast today. Want to thank you, everybody. You guys have a great one. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one.